Hey everyone, welcome. I am in Mexico this week, so there might be some really interesting background noises. I actually realized that I left the door open, so I might have to close that here, but there's dogs barking. I'm still coughing, so that's not fun, but I feel great. So hopefully you will bear with me with any of the unusualness of being on the road and doing the show. Now, speaking of which, each week, I so love being here with you live at 11:11 a.m. Pacific time. Now, there's times when whatever it is, schedules, logistics, Wi-Fi, lots of things that can come into play on Sunday. So I do my very best to be here with you each Sunday. And if for some reason I'm not expectedly or unexpectedly, I want you to know that I did open up 30-minute sessions online as well as 60-minute sessions. So if there's something burning and you really want to get some insights, we can have a private session and we can work through it. And sometimes we just need that privacy anyway, because there needs to be more dialogue, some things that we can't always do here on the live show. So don't hesitate to go over to bethbell.me. I want to be available to you, and I want to help you with anything having to do with relationships, to love, to life, to work, because it's all a relationship that we have with ourselves. And they're all lessons that we've set ourselves up to learn. And I love helping people work through them. And as you know, if you've been watching the channel, and maybe if you're new to the channel, you don't know, but really what I'm doing here is channeling my own inner wisdom and my higher self, and channeling wisdom that's coming from a higher level of consciousness. So oftentimes I learn alongside you with some of your questions. And it's just really interesting what comes through each and every week to your questions. So please don't hesitate. If you're on with me live, I would love to have you ask questions. And if you're on with me on replay, you can always go over to bethbell.me/question and submit a question that will be a little bit more private, but I do like your interaction here on YouTube. So please come over in the comments and let me know. And let me know how you're doing. Like, how are you feeling and where are you at in life? That's always nice to know too, so that I can get to know you a little bit better. All right, we're going to jump in. I've got a lot of questions. And if I am not on live one week, please know that your questions do get moved to the next week. So I will answer them. They don't go into some circular file somewhere. They definitely get moved into the next week. So we've got some great questions this week, and I look forward to hearing from you either live or on replay. So let's jump in. Okay, question number 1. I've recently had a falling out with a dear friend. I'm not sure it's recoverable, or if I want to recover it. Are there any specific signs that you think can indicate if this friendship is helpful any longer to my growth, or is it a hindrance? Yeah, we have lots of different friends that come and go in our life. Some people that stay for a lifetime, some people that are there for a reason, some people that are there for a season. And so I think it is important that you ask some deeper questions about this friend. In addition to that, I think the juicier bits might be in asking yourself the question about yourself. Because sometimes we're in a scuttlebuttle with a friend because they're triggering something within us. It feels like it's coming from them and it feels like it's about them, but it might be a reflection about something about you. And so it's really important to go deep into you. Like, what is it that's really causing this discord for me? Oftentimes, I would recommend that you take a break, just meaning that get yourself back to that neutral state where things aren't feeling super chaotic and super high emotion, so that you can have more productive conversations with that friend. Because when we're a lot of times it's hard to get on the same page unless we can both get into that really vulnerable space. So if you're in that place with that friend where you feel like you can be vulnerable with them, and you can really share something from your heart with them, then absolutely jump in and have that conversation. But if you're feeling like your heart is still hardened and you're just not ready to be there with them, then I would just pause. Excuse me, there's that cough. Pause and take a little break. But let them know, so that they don't feel like they're being ghosted, right? That's not what this is about. It's not about just shutting someone out or shutting someone off. Now, the question though was very specific, and I want to get back to that. Is there any specific signs that you think can indicate if this person is helpful to your growth or a hindrance? And I would say that the signs are going to come from that inner reflection that you have about yourself, and what are your triggers. But then there's also that healthy balance of just going, how do they really make me feel? How am I feeling when I'm with them? Am I feeling like they're there to support me as a friend? Or am I feeling like they're there to just project their own shit onto me? And that's, I think, a big indicator and a specific sign. Not that you get into this blame game, but that you just say, okay, I don't want to take that anymore because I need to process my own. And that's where I think sometimes knowing if they're really there for your growth or their growth comes in, because you start to understand that maybe it's really more their stuff, and that it's taking me into a place that I don't need to be right now. Because maybe what they're reflecting to me is just, oh yeah, thanks. I get that that's not a trigger for me right now. And I'm not feeling like that's where I want to put my energy and my time. And that would be more of a relationship where, a friendship where it's more of a hindrance. You could still be there for them. But I think, again, communicate with them and say why you're not there for them if you choose not to be. So if you're not going to have the conversations, you just simply say, right now, I feel like my heart is just closed, or my heart just feels hurt, or my energy just doesn't feel like it's in a conducive space for us to have a conversation that's going to be helpful for our relationship. So that's the way that I would communicate if you feel like you can't. Now, if you feel like you can and you want to find out with that person together, whether it's a hindrance or a growth opportunity, dive right in and say to that person, hey, I'm feeling this incredible discord. I know you're feeling it too. And I just want to know, like, is our conversation right now and in the next several days something that's going to be helpful for your growth and for mine? And then you're just putting it out on the table and you're kind of coming up with it together. Like, should we just pause? And then you can also just feel like the weight being lifted, that it doesn't have to be about a fight or something gnarly or nasty. It's just like acknowledging that the pink elephant in the room, that there's just something that's not right here in the relationship, and that you want to take into account also what's right for them as well as what's right for you. And I just feel like that's going to be a softer place for you, and you're going to feel a lot better about not having communication if that's what you choose to do. And that could be for a week, a month, a year. We don't know. And it might mean that you do a few touch bases here and there with that person just to find out, where are we at? Have we shifted? I have had so many incredible friendships and still have so many incredible friendships in my life. People who I'm incredibly intimately close with emotionally. I don't mean sexually. I just mean like friends that like know me and are in my psyche. And there's times where I've taken long breaks. And not because I was like, oh, I want to take a break from this person like intentionally, but I was just like, yeah, I just feel like for my growth right now, I need to get out of either my own stories, or I need to get out of their energy because they're going through a funk that's not helping my funk, or that I'm not in a funk and I don't want to be in a funk. So, it's really just being very aware of where you are emotionally and what you can handle, and then just being transparent about that. And then I think you're going to find out who your real friends are, who are the ones that can kind of, hold the space for you when you're not there for them. But they know that your love is still there somewhere in the background and in that foundation of your friendship. So I think that'll be really helpful for you. But I would love to know. So please write in the comments if that's helpful for you, and if what comes of it when you do have those difficult conversations with that friend. Okay, I'm going to jump into the next one here. I think this might be a juicy one. Let's see. Excuse me. I'm experiencing new love as I've met someone who seems to be my match. At the same time, I hope that this one is really the one, as I'm so tired of being single. I'm also over trying to find evolved men to date. How do I balance the excitement without losing myself in the future of what I want this to be? Isn't that a great question? I'm always going to go back to whenever we find ourselves saying the one, referring to a romantic partner, we always have to come back to the anchor that the one is within ourselves. That is always where the depth and the connection has to remain. And I know this for you, that you're very cognizant of not building a fantasy, because otherwise you wouldn't be asking the question, which is really where this is headed towards, about the excitement of losing myself. What comes to me specific to this is just have fun. Have fun. And when you get a thought about the future, is this person blah, 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 just go back to, I'm having fun right now. I'm having fun right now. I want to have fun right now. Let's do things that help us both have fun right now, and be in the fun of the newness of the relationship, because new love is so much fun. It's like where you can move mountains and where everything seems blissful and dreamy, and no one can do anything wrong, not even the random rude taxi driver on the street. But then as time goes on, things happen and things change, and you start to get to know each other in a different way. Excuse me, and it triggers different things within ourselves. So stay in the new love excitement, and stay in the new love fun, and journal about it. Journal about the new love fun, because when things get difficult down the road, you can always go back to that journal and go back to that energy about the fun with that person. Oftentimes what people do, not everyone, but what people happen to do, is they look for a new mate. When things get difficult, they're like, well, let me just find something else to be fun. I know that's not for you. I know it's more for the collective, because you really are committed to being in this relationship and wanting it to be long term. A long time ago, I think it was actually when I was getting married. I don't think I actually did this myself, but I remember someone telling me this as a tool, and it's coming to me for whatever reason right now, that you excuse me, find a box, a memento kind of box. Write down all the things that you really, really love about this person, all the things that you find exciting, all the things that you find different and opposite about this person. Well, now I'm adding on some things into this little idea, but put them into a box and put a candle in there. And if you drink wine or you drink champagne or whatever you drink, put it all in the box. Maybe there's a memento, something that they've given you, something that just has a special significance for you, and put it all in that little box. And have that be your little happy box. So when things get tough, you come back to that box, and you come back to the things that you really love about each other, and that are dreamy about each other, and that you thought were about the match part of you. And you can come back to that box as much as you want. Excuse me, you might have to refill the whatever beverage you have in there whenever you tap into that box. But it's a special place, and it's honoring the beautiful things about the relationship, so that the things that start to become expectations or judgments or discord in the future can be minimized instead of maximized. So that's what's coming to me. I want to make sure I've answered that question now. Yeah, someone who seems to be my match. And also, I'm not saying that this is for you specifically, but there is this big energy coming in that is, it's your match for right now. And it may not be for forever. We want it to be. We love it to be. But just don't be in this expectation of what it has to be, or the fear of if it's not that. And I think that's where things start to creep in, and we start to find ourselves in a different energy. So honor the match and honor all those beautiful things. Go back to that exercise that I just said. Put it in a box, a memento box, and bring it out as many times as you need to, and add to the box as many times as you have things that come to you that you really want to remember and share with your loved one. And I think over time, and what's coming is to do this at least once a year, that you visit the box. And maybe it's on your anniversary. Maybe it's once a month, that you add things to the box. You add things about what you've learned about yourself, what you've learned about the other person. And I think you're going to find that newness and that match feeling and that one feeling. And how do you as my partner complement the oneness, me being in my oneness, me being in my growth, me getting the life lessons that I came here to learn. Because if they feel like a match, they definitely are here to help you learn. Okay. Again, I always love to hear the comments. And if you want to go deeper, you can always go on to bethbell.me, and there's lots of ways that we can work together to talk about any aspect in any stage of relationship that you're in. Okay. I'm comfortable at my job, but feel like it might be time to make a change. At the same time, the thought of putting myself out there for another position is frightful. What's the best way to get past this? Well, a lot of things are coming. I love that you're feeling comfortable, because then you're not like desperate to leave a position or desperate to get out of something. It feels like you've outgrown that position. You've outgrown perhaps that team. You've outgrown that organization. Maybe the vibration of, their mission isn't as aligned with you. So I would start to just do an exercise thinking about, well, what is my mission? What is my purpose? A lot of times I feel like we have a tendency to separate our purpose and our and our work life, and sometimes we have to, and that's okay. And then a lot of times we can have them be together. They can be as one, where we're actually living our purpose and doing a job that really connects with that. And for you specifically, I'm feeling like that's where you're at. You're at that crux of like, I just want to find an organization and a position that feels really aligned with who I am as a person and what I've evolved to, and like what my gifts are. Like, what do I want to share with the world? And it doesn't always have to be a promotion. I know we always like that. More money, more status, more. But I feel like something will come to you that is a promotion. And to do that, it's writing down what your new mission is in life. Like, what are the things that feel stale with the comfortable job that you're in? Like, what's making it comfortable as opposed to catapulting? And then what would make it catapulting? Like, what excites you? Is there, and maybe it's even like getting really granular about like a specific task that you like to do. And you say, yeah, if I could do more of that task, I would feel more catapulted. I'd feel more invigorated and energized every day waking up to go and participate in this job that I have, career that I have, way that I'm earning income. It feels like this is such a perfect time for you, as I said already, because of the comfort level and the acknowledgement that you feel like there's something more. So the fear is just coming in that you haven't quite centered yourself in what it is that you want. And I think when you center yourself in what it is that you want, and again, it doesn't have to be a specific job title. It doesn't have to be a specific company, but it's the essence of all these things that you put together that you start to visualize and feel like, hey, this is how I really would love to feel. And this is the kind of thing that I would be doing. Maybe that it's you're interfacing with more people, or maybe you're not interfacing with as many people or the public. So it's like those kinds of details that you're putting together. And then I think the most important part is just get excited about what you don't know that's coming, because that's where the fear is coming in, is the unknown. We just get fearful. It's just human nature that when we don't know something, that we jump to the fear idea of it. So if you can jump to the excitement idea of it, because you're comfortable, excuse me, you're comfortable. So just be in the excitement of it and move into what opportunities can possibly just fall into place. Now, I know sometimes when we're in a job, we don't want to go out and like scream out to the world that we're looking for a job, because we don't want our employer to know, or whoever we're working for to know, that we're not committed to the job that we're currently in. So I think that's where you can start just putting out little feelers like, hey, to friends and family, and, hey, if I was doing more of this, gosh, I would just feel so much more invigorated. And then you start planting that seed of like, oh, so when someone else hears about this or that, they go, oh gosh, let's think, they think so-and-so said they really would like to do more of that. And here's an opportunity for that. So you start to get your feelers out there in a way that just helps others bring things to you as well. All right, let's keep moving along here. I'm going to take a little sip of water because, as you can tell, I'm still coughing. Have any of you had this ridiculous cold? I feel good. It just doesn't want to quite get out. But it will. All right. So go on to the next here. What's your opinion on the appropriate time to have sex with a new partner? I feel like I've answered this question many times in the past, but I love to answer it. So let's just see what comes through today. I feel like the most important thing about having sexual intimacy, the physical sexual intimacy, is that you trust that person. Unfortunately, the human design, not unfortunately, but miraculously, the human design is to procreate. And the human design is to have our sexual chemistry take over and really create an energy that helps us want to have sex to replicate ourselves. But the beauty about that sexual energy is when we harness it in a really positive, loving, nurturing way about ourselves, and we're like really protective of our sexual energy. And I don't mean from fear or anything like that. I mean that we protect it and that we honor it. We see how sacred that beautiful energy within ourself is, because a lot of times we don't. We just think, oh, it's like we feel it and we want to move forward with the chemistry with someone. And so honoring that we have that beautiful energy within us is, I think, the first step. And then really looking at that other person and saying, do they deserve my sharing of that? And I don't mean it from a judgment. I don't like the word deserve. Are they able to honor my energy, not just sexual energy, but my energy as a whole? And are they ready to hold my energy like a fragile egg, to hold my soul like a fragile egg? And until then, getting into like the depths of sexual intimacy can be really, really challenging and difficult to navigate a new relationship when you start out with the sexual chemistry first. Now, again, sometimes we can move through our heart space and open our hearts to someone and move into that deeply trusting state quickly. So I actually don't really like the idea of like time, like, oh yeah, it has to be 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years for marriage, which I definitely, I wouldn't say you have to wait till marriage. I think that's a really interesting. So if you're really conservative, we're gonna have different views on that. I think that it's really important that you find where you are in your ability to trust that person with your heart and your soul. And oftentimes we don't know that until a little time has passed. However, there are times when we have soulmates and people in our lives that we just know that there is something so much deeper and unexplainable that happens between the two people that you can move into that sexual intimacy perhaps faster. Now, I'm going to back up and say that if you can harness that energy and create and honor the tantric love energy, sexual chemistry all in one, that when you actually get to really being in that completely naked state with someone, that you've already bared your soul. And so any flaw that you think you may have or emotional hiccup you may have can really be on the back burner, because you know that person's got you. they've got you in such a beautiful, sacred, honoring way that they've earned it, you know. And I don't mean it like earn it in that true sense, but I mean that they've shown you that they really can be there with you at that same level of vulnerability and sharing and caring and love, and hold your soul like a fragile egg. And until then, I wouldn't go there, because there's a lot of people who aren't ready to be there with you. I'm speaking to the people listening to my channel who are on the spiritual journey, on the spiritual awakening journey. You are light-filled, you're love-filled, you're here to make a difference on the planet. And so that's where I think really honoring the sacredness of your sexual energy is so important, because as you increase your light, more and more people are going to want to suck off that light too. And so that's like it's a edgy place to be, to really know, am I ready to have this kind of intimacy with someone else? And am I ready to allow them the honor of being in my sacred sexual energy in that way? So there's lots of stuff you can do before the actual penetration part of sexual chemistry. And I would highly recommend that you take lots of steps before then of really honoring yourself, your own energy, and really feeling into, are they honoring me? Are they honoring my energy? Are they honoring me as a whole? Or is it just a part of me that they want to achieve or accomplish or get? All right. Yes, they deserve it. I love that comment. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. I always love to hear in the comments. So please don't hesitate to share your thoughts. And if you disagree with me, that's okay too. I always love to know what you guys are thinking. So please comment on what you think is an appropriate time to start sexual relationship with a new partner. I'd love to hear it. Okay, let's move into the next question. It's a beautiful day here in Mexico, actually. The birds are out chirping, and somehow miraculously the dogs have not barked since we started. So the only one barking is me. All right. I've recently heard about emotional trauma bonding, and the concept resonates for me in my current relationship. However, I'm not sure if that's what's actually happening, and if it is, what to do about it. First of all, and this was actually something that was coming through on the question before, but then it went into a different direction, is we, excuse me, we connect with people based on our wounds. All of us. That's just part of the human nature, because we connect to people for procreation, but also for personal spiritual growth. And sometimes that is to loop us back into the same pattern that we've suffered for years because we haven't done the work, or maybe we've tried to do the work, but we just haven't quite got there yet. So you're going to continue to get partners that reflect to you wounds that oftentimes you share, or there's a vibrational element of it that you share, or that they're going to reflect something to you so that you can dust off and say, am I good with that? Or is that part still me? And can I stand in my strength and who I am during that time? And if not, then yes, trauma bonding happens, because you've hit a chord in each other that has now created trauma, and then you come back around and you're bonding over it. And sometimes that can be very one-sided. Sometimes it can be a technique that people use knowingly or unknowingly to keep people in their grasp, to keep people in a relationship, to do something terrible and then be really nice. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt and say that they're oftentimes that's not their intention at all. They just don't know any different. And so if you've attracted something that feels like trauma bonding, I would just come back to what I said in the start of this, which is recognize that we're always connecting on wounds. Yes, we're connecting on love, but deep in there, I always feel like the stronger the chemistry that we have with someone, and the more we feel, the deeper we're going into something that needs to really be healed within us and come forward for us to be able to share in that oneness with each other, which is when each person can be whole and perfect in and of themselves, and then sharing themselves with each other. Look, a lot of people don't achieve this in a lifetime, don't achieve this in many lifetimes. I mean, we're talking about enlightenment. We're talking about awakening inner wisdom. We're talking about really being in that just unbelievably peace-filled self-love that we can anchor into, so that whatever and whoever we attract, we can be in unconditional love and love them unconditionally, as opposed to projecting. And but these are all good things. So let's not look at it as bad. Let's not look at trauma bonding as bad. Let's not look at wound sharing as bad. Let's look at them as things that show us where we are, show us where we don't want to be, show us where we want to go, and the work we have to do to get there. And that specifically, I mean, in relationships and in relationship to ourselves and who we are. Where am I in my self-love? Where am I projecting self-hatred, dare I say, or self-judgment, or, you know, that self, what's the word? Dislike that I'm putting on someone else. And so there's always two people. And the thing I can say to you is, if you feel like you're trauma bonding, you're just as responsible as they are. So you have to stop the spin within you, and first, and then you will create an environment where the spin can stop for the other person. But don't be attached or unattached to, don't be attached, be unattached to whether or not they have the wisdom within to not spin anymore, because that's their work, not yours. We don't do other people's work. We reflect the work that they have yet to do, based on how we can handle the situation and how we can shine the light and how we can stay grounded and centered. And sometimes we can't, and that's okay too. Then it's just, then we have that work to do within ourselves. So I think it sounds like you're in a really great spot with this, because you're acknowledging that there's something a little off, and just keep coming back to, what does it mean for me and why I've attracted it? What does it mean for me and what I have for my own residual inside? And what does it mean for me as far as what work I still want and need to do, so that I can release that and be in a blissfully neutral state and not let that person trigger me. And at some time, you may have to say, I'm out. I'm not going to take that trauma, that swirling, and reprieve temporarily, forever. Only you know that. Only you know where that's at, and where your tolerance level is, and where your strength is, and where your work is, and how you want to work on that. But it is very individual. So again, if that's something you want to work on and go deeper on, I'm more than happy to dive deep into the specifics of that situation and see how we can really learn the juicy nuggets. Because as you know, all of us, if we don't learn the lesson, we're just going to attract it again. So, it's a new package, but it's got the same bow and the same stuff inside. So we want to do the work in the relationships that we do bring forward, and in a safe place. I'm not saying stay if it's really abusive to you. So, all right. Thank you for that question. That's a good one. And I think it's a really relevant one for today, especially as everyone's wounds are coming up so intently right now. As you know, I don't like to talk about politics, but there's a lot happening right now in the political landscape. There's a lot happening in just the world, and it's bringing up the underbelly. And so when the underbelly comes up, the wounds are coming up, and as difficult as it is and as challenging as it feels, I just always like to encourage all of us to remember that we have to just be responsible for us. That, yeah, well, I also want to help change the world and I want to contribute to humanity, and that's a big task. First, foremost, and always is for me to heal myself back to wholeness. And so don't get too caught up in all the craziness and all the chaos that's happening. Excuse me. because you can't do anything about everybody else. You can only do something for yourself. And bless the darkness that's coming up. Allow it to release, because the more attention you give to that darkness, the more energy the darkness has, the more energy the chaos creates. So as you find yourself talking about things throughout the day, talk about the things that are light-filled, talk about the things you can do, not about the things that are out of control. Yes, of course, we can acknowledge it, but the more energy you give it, the more it's going to grow. So I'm bringing that in because I think it's a very incredible time in humanity right now for all people to do their inner work, but especially light workers, especially way showers, whatever you want to call yourself, spiritual beings, star seeds, that you really find that light within and find a way to shine it and not let all of this wound that's coming forward, because a lot of people are also empaths on this path where you're feeling other people's emotions. And we're not here to save the world by saving them. We're here to save the world by saving ourselves. And when we do that, that's when the magic happens. And we make the biggest impact on everyone around us in magical ways that we don't even know. Okay, let's keep moving along. Okay, so in general, I'm struggling with feeling like I'm not enough or that I have to prove my worth. How can I release shame and step into true self-worth? For me, what's coming is shame and self-worth. Even though I know they're connected, I'm seeing them as different. I'm seeing shame as let me go to self-worth. Self-worth is what feels like is coming forward about this is that it is your worth in the weight of love. Okay, just bear with me. Your worth in the weight of vibration and frequency that you bring is where you want to focus. That's your worth. When you don't feel self-worth, it's because you're allowing the external environment to tell you that you need to be or do or say something different. And while sometimes that may be true, and there may be really good reflections that are telling you like, hey, pay attention, ding, 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 over here, there's a lot of times when that's just, again, bringing forward fears, bringing societal thought constructs forward to challenge you on your self-worth. So the shame part, I feel like, comes from, again, this comparison, whether it's a comparison you're making to someone else or something else. I should be there, or I'm not good enough because I have not. But a lot of times that comes from the people that are in our lives that are creating that shame as well. So there's that self-shame and that external shame. And I just feel like saying to uncouple shame and self-worth for whatever reason, that stick in that self-worth bucket about what you offer when it comes to love and vibration and helping others. Always help yourself first. And I don't mean that from a selfish place. I mean that from a self-love place, that you really sit and anchor in the vibration that you're bringing. Now, I know if you're at a low point, then it's really hard to feel that, that bright light within you. I get that. But it's almost like the shame is like that voice, that little devilish voice on your shoulder that's saying all the things that you're doing wrong, which is more judgment. versus that cheerleader voice that's saying, keep going, keep going, keep going. And following this one, which is all about all the goodness that you are, all the wonderful things that you are. And one exercise that's really helpful for this is each morning, just plan. If you can plan 30 minutes, if you can plan an hour, great. But 30, let's just say you plan 30 minutes, or you back it up and just say, all I got is 5. All I can do is 5. 5 is great too. Get a journal or a notebook and get a pen or pencil and just write one thing that you love about yourself, like one thing that you did that you felt contributed to your happiness or the happiness of others around you. Because there's going to be a lot of things. And if there aren't a lot of things, don't judge. Don't judge yourself. Don't be like, oh, I didn't get anything. Because I think you did. You just didn't see it. And that's the point of the exercise, is just taking a moment to say, oh, gosh, well, I tipped that guy a little extra. Or, I said hello to a homeless person on the street, which would have been scary, but I decided that I was just going to actually look at them and say hello. Those are acts of kindness that you shine your light out into the world and bring value and worth to others around you, that also brings value and worth to yourself because you felt connected to that person momentarily. So the more connection points you can have, the better. The other thing that's coming is, if you're out and about, let's say you're getting a coffee, that you make an extra effort appropriately to make eye contact with the person and smile. And if you can't tip extra, that's fine too. Don't tip extra, but just give them the energetic deposit, because when we give the energetic deposit to someone, we get it back. It's not always a one-to-one. Sometimes we get some weird response and it triggers people to be nice to them. So it's not about I'm going to do this with the expectation that I'm going to get something back. No, it's not like that. It's I'm going to do this. It's kind of that idea of pay it forward, I guess. I'm going to do this out of just kindness, just because I want to experience my own kindness. I want to feel what I have to offer and give to people. I think you'll find that you could start switching the energy really quickly. But the next thing you do is, at the end of the week, go back and look. And maybe you missed a couple of days, so write a few extra on the last day of the week. And start to see all the little tiny little acts of kindness that actually made a big difference. The butterfly effect. We don't need to know exactly what a difference it makes, but we know that we did something that made a difference. It doesn't cost anything to smile. It doesn't cost anything to look somebody in the eye. It doesn't cost anything to hug somebody a little bit longer. All these little things that can just really be helpful for them, but also for you. Hopefully that'll get you past any ideas of shame and into seeing more about the beauty of which you bring to the world. Now, I'm not discounting, because I don't know specifically, because you didn't mention what you're feeling shame about. But we can certainly talk more about that if you want to give me more information for next week's show, or reach out and we can do a one-on-one. But I get shame. Shame is a tough emotion to overcome. But again, the more attention we give to that versus anchoring into that self-worth aspect of ourselves and seeing all these little acts of kindness and of course gratitude that we feel as a result, is where our focus should go. Okay, let's see here. I think we've got a couple more questions, and I know we're almost down to the hour. So let me just see if I can wrap this up. Recently, life has thrown me multiple unexpected challenges my way. I'm searching for a new job. I desire a supportive relationship and have financial stress. It's hard to trust that everything is unfolding for my highest good. How can I cultivate that trust? What's coming through is an analogy of timing, that if you plant a particular flower at the wrong time of year, it's not going to grow. And so there's, I guess maybe what's coming is more about the winter seasons, and there are these seasons. Here's what it is. It's coming now, Claire. Excuse me. The lotus flower in the mud. Sometimes we're in the mud. Sometimes we're just in the mud, and we just go into that more hermit place, but from a self-love perspective, not from a I'm down and out. And that we focus on that little pilot light within. I don't know what it is in a lotus flower when it's deep in the mud. I don't know exactly what kind of telecommunication it has to source energy, for it to know even like that this way is up versus that way or that way in the lotus pond of mud. But there is an energy that is guiding that lotus flower to go like this and pop up through the mud and through the water and come up and into this incredible blossom. I know when I lived in Bali, I would walk by my lotus flower pond every day. And it was just this constant reminder that no matter how tough things were, or how bummed out I was about something, or that I could always just look at the lotus flower and just be like, oh yeah, right. Okay. If that lotus flower can trust, I just need to trust in a power that is part of me, but greater than me, in the sense that I can surrender into it and really feel into it. And so maybe one of the exercises that you can do is, yes, of course, meditation, but I know sometimes meditation can be really difficult. What's coming to me is if you can find a safe spot to have the sun be, meaning that you're not like staring into the sun, like you don't want to burn your eyes out, but where you're getting like the ray of the sun, or you're getting like a really strong sun impulse or ray, that you just allow your psyche, your energy, and your heart to connect to the sun, to just feel like even as you breathe in, that you're just breathing the sun in, and you're just like bringing the sun down into your body and asking the sun to anchor you, asking the energy, whatever you believe in. It doesn't, like, let's not get into the semantics. It doesn't have to be, it's not woo woo. It's just like being like, hey, I got to be here now, and I got a spirit in this body, and I got to figure out how do I manage the energies and the mental mind mess that's happening. And the sun is a great way to do it a lot of times. Even if it's cloudy, probably even better, because then you don't have to stare at the sun, but you can see it come through. And if you don't have the sun, say you're in Alaska, or I don't know, somewhere where like the sun's not shining, get a light bulb and put that light bulb there so that you can just feel that energy and feel the brightness. Because if we don't feel the light, the darkness can take over really fast. The darkness can feel really heavy and can feel like it's quicksand and it's swallowing us, and it's really taking us into that place. Now, again, there's times when we have to be in that place because there's shit there that we got to figure out. So try to not be scared of being in that darker place. Just be thankful that you have the awareness that you're there, and start searching for the light. Ask for the light and know that you're not alone in the light. So I know I went off a little bit on this because the question was more specifically on, sorry, I have to look here. I get so into the channeling of it. It's hard, that everything is unfolding for my highest good. How can I cultivate that trust? So I think it's seeing the light and knowing that you can surrender and trust in the energies much bigger than yourself. I feel like there's too much more to say on this because I know that feels a little etheric. But try it. Please try. Just try this. Just try sitting with the light and try anchoring it in all the way down to your first chakra and to your sit bone, and see how that makes you feel, even if it's only for those 5 minutes that you're sitting. And ask spirit, whatever you believe in or don't believe in, the sunlight that's there. It's not a question. The sun is there. ask the sun, show me what I need to do, or how I need to be, or what I need to switch, or energetically just give me a boost in vibration. Just boost me up right now. And I think you're going to find that there's a shift that will happen. And if you stay focused on asking for the shift, it is the law of nature that you will shift if your focus stays there on the light, and that you honor the dark that's within you. We're never going to escape the dark. The dark is always there, but the light is always there too. And so let's let the light win and come through. All right. Okay, we've gone over a little bit. There's a few more questions. I'll take them into next week. I always appreciate every week at 11:11 on Sunday Pacific time that you're here with me live. And if you're watching on replay, I love that too, because it's still the same. You can write questions in the comments and I'll be sure to ask and answer them in the next week's show. If you want more support, you want to dive deeper into something that's going on in your life, please go over to bethbell.me and check out how we can work together. I put a lot of stuff in the description below as well. There's also my book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. I don't talk about it every week, but it's a great way to learn a little bit more about where I'm coming from and some of the mind mess and craziness and life that I've gotten myself into and how I got myself out of it, because that's brought so much wisdom to me as to how I can help others navigate some of life's most difficult and heartbreaking and heart-aching situations in life. There's also the Awakening and Healing Handbook. It's an ebook. It's just jam-packed with great tips, tools, techniques, and methodologies to help you through some of these really challenging times. And there's also the Herpes Handbook, which is jam-packed with some good information as well, and the Psychedelics Resource Guide, and many other things. So I look forward to hearing from you. Please write in the comments if you've enjoyed the show, if you've enjoyed any of the questions, if they resonate with you, if you have something new that you want to talk about. All right. Until next week, I'm wishing you much bliss and love on the journey. Namaste.